Let's get it. 580 Sports Talk coming at you on a Thursday afternoon. Hi, hello, and how the heck are you? We're so glad to be with you on this Thursday edition of 580 Sports Talk on the sports voice of Kansas. 580 WIBW, FM 104.9, online, worldwide at 580WIBW.com. And on our video stream, we are streaming live on video, as always, on our YouTube channel, 580 Sports Talk, and on Facebook at WIBW News. However you are joining us today, we want to thank you for joining us here on 580 Sports Talk. I am Dan Lucero, and right now I speak for just myself. I'm using the royal we, I suppose. It's just me for right now. Spencer Dupuis is going to be along in a bit. Brendan Dworzinski is off this week. So we've got a jam-packed 3 hours today. Thursday is always slammed on the program, and today is going to be no different. We are excited to be bringing you our great guest lineup that we typically bring you on Thursday, and, of course, lots of Super Bowl content as we are now 3 days away from Super Bowl 59, which means the Kansas City Chiefs may be 3 days away from immortality as they take on the Philadelphia Eagles in Super Bowl 59. We're breaking out the crystal ball on today's show, peering into the future and the possibilities of what Super Bowl 59 might look like. And some of those are good possibilities, and, of course, some of those are bad possibilities. Never been a 100% win probability after all. But we're going to peer into the crystal ball, and I'll explain what I mean by that a little bit later on. We're also doing prop bets on a Thursday. Our friends at Prairie Band Sportsbook have their prop bets for the big game. And later on in the show, Spencer and I are going to pick our favorites. We've each got about $100. You could probably hear me do the air quotes, if that's even a thing that you can, if you can say that, you can hear the exaggeration in my voice. I'm doing air quotes. You can see them on video. We've got $100. I think I called them Nuggies last year in honor of the Andy Reid commercial for State Farm. It was also a direct ripoff of something that one of my favorite golf podcasts, No Laying Up, does. That's who I am, by the way. I not only do I listen to golf podcasts, I have one of my favorite golf podcasts. That's the level of washed I've reached as a 38-year-old father. So as to not rip off a show that has done a concept better than we have, we'll call them dollars, really exaggeratedly, and we'll make some prop bets a little bit later on in the show. And, of course, because it is a Thursday, we're going to get a Super Bowl perspective from the voice of the Chiefs, Mitch Holthus, who's a veteran of these by now, getting ready to call his 5th Super Bowl of the last 6 years on the Chiefs Radio Network. Mitch will join us from the Big Easy, New Orleans, Louisiana, coming up at about 5:25 this afternoon. We will get Mitch's thoughts on the game, his nuggets of the night. That's separate and apart from betting with chicken nuggies. And all of his other great insight. He'll get you fired up. If you weren't already fired up for Super Bowl 59, you certainly will be after we talk to Mitch coming up at 5:25 or so on today's program. Also coming up on the show, bottom of the 4 o'clock hour, CJ Moore of The Athletic to talk Big 12 hoops. Sunflower Showdown is Saturday. We're going to preview it with CJ and talk about all of the other things going on in Big 12 men's basketball. And speaking of the Sunflower Showdown, a little birdie gave me 2 tickets to Saturday's Sunflower Showdown at Bramlage Coliseum. And we're going to give those away today. So be listening for your cue to call and win 2 tickets to see K-State and KU, 1 o'clock Saturday, Bramlage Coliseum. Of course, if you can't be there, you can hear it right here on Saturday on 580 WIBW and FM 104.9. So CJ joined us bottom of the 4 o'clock hour, bottom of the 3 o'clock hour on a Thursday. That's Rick Peterson of TopSports.news for our local sports spotlight. We're going to talk to Pistol about all of the happenings in high school sports and in Washburn University athletics. It's our local sports spotlight. We do it every week, Thursday, 3:30-ish. Bottom of this hour coming up here on the program. Plus, all the other stuff you've come to know and love from a Thursday edition of the show. We'll have 580 Sports Talk headlines. We'll do What Is Wrong With You, sponsored by State Farm Agent Ryan Mo Winkle. We've also got a little either or over under and all of that good stuff as well. Plus, your interaction with the program today. We'd love to hear from you. 785-272-9429 is the text line number. Shoot us a text throughout the program. We'd love to hear from you on the text line, 785-272-9429. And a welcome to everyone who is checking in on the live video stream right now on our YouTube channel at 580 Sports Talk. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't yet. And if you are watching live, whether you're in the web browser or on the mobile app, jump on into the live chat. We've seen Vance, Mark H., Jason's in. We got Casey in already today. No, we'll see more of you as we go on throughout the program. But if you are watching on YouTube, don't be shy. Never a bad time to post your first comment in the live chat and interact with not just me and our other hosts here on 580 Sports Talk, but also our great listeners as well. It's a neat little community that has developed, and we invite you to be a part of it. And why not today? Why not give it a shot? If you've never streamed the show live on YouTube on our channel 580 Sports Talk, give it a shot today. Already in the YouTube comments, someone has asked me about my shirt. Obviously, this will mean nothing to you if you are listening on the radio, but if you are watching the live video stream of 580 Sports Talk today, you notice I am wearing my St. Jude Center for Cancer Research shirt today because our folks on our sister station, the Big 94.5 Country, are doing their St. Jude Radiothon. The Country Cares Radiothon is today. So I have my This Shirt Saves Lives shirt on today for the folks doing the St. Jude Radiothon. And while we are not directly involved, again, it's a project of our sister station, the Big 94.5 Country. It is still a cause that is near and dear to the hearts of everyone in this building, something very important that we do every single year. And we would encourage you, if it is on your heart to donate to the St. Jude Center for Cancer Research, to give this number a call anytime today, 800-592-3530, to donate to the St. Jude Center for Cancer Research. And hey, get one of these cool shirts. So if you're watching on the YouTube stream and you see my shirt and you think, that's a dope shirt, I want a shirt like what Dan's got on, 800-592-3530, and make a donation today. It is the St. Jude Radiothon. All of the proceeds go to Children's Cancer Research. Let's help some kids with cancer today, shall we? While we're talking sports, while we're getting excited for the Super Bowl, 800-592-3530 for the St. Jude Radiothon. Let's get things fired up on 580 Sports Talk today by peering into the crystal ball, as promised. One of my favorite old quotes from a coach, Bobby Bowden, talking about the 4 stages of program building in college football. He says you go through the 4 stages. First, you lose big, then you lose close, then you win close, and then finally you win big. And the reason I love that line is because it really distills down to 4 possible outcomes pretty much every sporting event. Like either won or you lost close, or you won or you lost big, right? There's 4 ways a game can go. Team A wins close, Team A wins big, Team B wins close, Team B wins big. And so it is true for Super Bowl 59 between the Eagles and the Chiefs. It would certainly be a surprise if any Chiefs game were decided in blowout fashion. After all, how many times do we see that this year? Who was the team the Chiefs put the boots to this year? Pittsburgh. Regular season. That was about it. They had some other wins that felt dominant, but were not by dominant margins necessarily. Like they handled the Saints pretty good early in the year. They also lost by 9 to the Bills. And I know that's a 2-score loss technically, but so it didn't interrupt the Chiefs' streak of 1-score games that they have won, but also a 9-point loss was with the winning score or the score that sealed the game coming in the final 2 minutes. Also not what you would call a blowout. So the Chiefs have played in close game after close game after close game this year. So it would be a surprise for them to find themselves in a game that felt decided by the time the fourth quarter rolls around. The Eagles, meanwhile, just played a game like that, where they pummeled the Commanders in the NFC Championship game, dropped 55 points on them, ran for 8 touchdowns. Commanders couldn't do a thing. They turned it over 4 times. Eagles fell on every fumble. They've had remarkable fumble luck in the playoffs, by the way. And that saw them through to a blowout. So they are more familiar with the idea that they might blow somebody out than the Chiefs have been throughout the season. But if there are 4 possible outcomes for this Super Bowl, what would they look like? So that's where we're peering into the crystal ball. What would any of those outcomes look like? What would have to happen for those outcomes to come to fruition? Since they're the least fun to talk about with you all, we'll start with the scenarios that see an Eagles victory on Sunday. And we'll start with the one that I think is the least likely, and that would be a comfortable Eagles win. 2 or more scores over, for all intents and purposes, into the fourth quarter. Basically a game that felt like Super Bowl 55 felt. How do we get to that? How does that happen on Sunday? Well, it probably means if the Eagles do enjoy a comfortable victory in Super Bowl 59, that Saquon Barkley wins the game's MVP because he is unstoppable. And to mix our sports metaphors, probably hits 2 home runs, probably 2 explosive running plays, 4 touchdowns for Saquon Barkley. The Chiefs have been one of the best defenses all year long at limiting explosive plays, particularly on the ground. So that would cut against type. But Saquon Barkley has been the explosive runner in the NFL this year. And if he's able to rip off a couple of long touchdowns like he did in the NFC Championship game, like he has throughout the playoffs, that would certainly lend itself towards a comfortable Eagles win, as would a turnover-free performance by Jalen Hurts and also an effective scrambling performance. We talked about earlier this week, Hurts has not been a great scrambler, but this year he has been a little bit less predictable of a scrambler. He's not instantly bailing the pocket to the right, which he did for the last couple of seasons. I think it was, I'm trying to remember. I've read some really good stuff about the Super Bowl today, and now it's all kind of running together like mush in my brain. But Aaron Schatz' preview at FTN Fantasy, Bill Barnwell's incredibly long, like War and Peace length preview of the game. I think it may have been from Barnwell, writing about how Jalen Hurts has evolved as a scrambler and he's a little bit smarter about where he scrambles. He's less predictable. Some big scrambles on third downs that move the chains, that keep the ball in Philadelphia's hand, that allow them to finish drives with points rather than punt the ball back to the Chiefs. That would lend itself to an Eagles blowout. So would the Chiefs making multiple uncharacteristic offensive mistakes, talking a multi-turnover game, which we haven't seen in months, literally months with this football team. And it would probably involve the Eagles front 4 dominating the Chiefs front 4. Jalen Carter being unblockable. Nolan Smith repeatedly beating Jawan Taylor off of right tackle. Milton Williams in pass rushing downs, caving in Mike Caliendo. Vic Fangio being able to run stunts and pass rush games that confuse the Chiefs front 5. And winning with 4 over and over, forcing Mahomes out of the pocket, forcing him to take sacks or throw the ball away or put the ball in harm's way if indeed the Eagles have the lead late. And the end result of that would probably look a lot like Super Bowl 55, because that's what that was, right? The one Super Bowl loss in this run for the Chiefs was a game that was still fairly close. I think it was 14-3 at halftime. And the Chiefs had dropped passes, committed penalties. I remember people grousing about the officials in the first half of that game, which kind of ironic given how the dialogue about officials has now sort of shifted over the course of the last 4 years here. And then as the Chiefs chased the game, the dominance of the Buccaneer pass rush became the story, and it allowed Tampa Bay to extend out their lead, and it kept the Chiefs from ever seriously threatening to get back in the game. That's possible with the personnel the Eagles have on deck. It would just be really surprising because, again, it would involve a subpar offensive line performance from an offensive line I don't think is subpar. Like Mike Remmers isn't walking through that door. Stefan Wisniewski is not walking through that door, right? And it would also involve multiple uncharacteristic offensive mistakes by the Chiefs. And this has been a team all season long that hasn't done that. But that's the scenario. That's the doomsday scenario for Super Bowl 59. What about a close Eagles win? I feel like a close Eagles win probably looks like a game where Saquon Barkley is unstoppable, but in a different way. Unstoppable in the sense that not rushing for 8-9 yards a carry, ripping off a 60-yard touchdown run or a 70-yard run that sets up a tush-push score, something like that. But a steadier dominance from Saquon Barkley, where pretty much any time he wants, he's getting 5 yards. And the chains are just moving over and over again. And the Eagles are milking clock with their drives. You know that drive the Texans had early in the third quarter in the divisional round on the Chiefs, where they could have tied the game if not for the missed extra point? Joe Mixon was just eating over and over again on that drive. The whole game looking like that is a recipe that I think the Eagles would really like to follow. It would limit the number of possessions overall in the game, so probably limit overall what the score would look like. But that would be a game that I think would benefit the Eagles in a close one. Would also see, I think, the Eagles generating enough pass rush, winning more often than not with 4 rushers on third down, that the Chiefs are forced off the field on those third down opportunities and are unable to pick up third downs at the astonishing rate that they've picked them up throughout the season. But it would also, I think, a close and low-scoring Eagles win involve something kind of out of character for both kickers, at least for this year. It would probably involve a clutch miss by Harrison Butker, which is something we've really never seen, or a clutch make from Jake Elliott. And while in his career he's never missed what you would term a clutch kick, he's been shaky this year. 28 out of 36 on field goals. I don't think there's a ton of confidence on the Eagles sideline, certainly amongst the Eagles fan base, in the man that our pal Brendan Dworzinski refers to as the pride of LaGrange Park, Illinois, Jake Elliott. But if he were to make a crucial kick, or if Butker were to miss a crucial kick, which again would cut against type this year, and certainly for Butker in his entire career, that's the kind of thing that could lead to a narrow Eagles victory, probably a low-scoring game in that scenario, something like 20-17 or 23-20 in Philadelphia's favor. Okay, that's the not fun part. How about the scenarios where the Chiefs win? Let's look in the fun side of the crystal ball. How about the scenario where the Chiefs win big? Wouldn't you like that? We haven't had one of those in this dynastic Chiefs run. The Super Bowl 54 triumph needed a comeback and came down to the final drives of the game. Obviously, Harrison Butker's last-second field goal won Super Bowl 57, and the Chiefs needed overtime to win Super Bowl 58. There's not a, Washington 42, Denver 10, or San Francisco 55, Denver 10, or San Francisco 49, San Diego 26, I think it was, in Super Bowl 29, or Seattle 43, Denver 8. It feels like I'm picking on the Broncos. I'm absolutely picking on the Broncos. We haven't had one of those Super Bowls for the Chiefs. What if we did? What if we got one of those on Sunday? What would that look like? And I think that game would include a fast start by the Chiefs. And I don't just mean scoring on the opening drive. I mean scoring, getting a stop and scoring, and taking like a 14-0 or a 14-3 lead. Because I think that would then force the Eagles out of a Saquon Barkley forward game plan and force them to put more of the game on Jalen Hurts' shoulders. And that's where the Steve Spagnuolo versus Jalen Hurts matchup, if it breaks heavily in the Chiefs' favor, could produce a blowout. If Jalen Hurts is seeing ghosts, if he's picking up a blitz from one side, and in fact, it's Spagnuolo bringing pressure from an entirely other side or another gap altogether, and he's throwing the ball into harm's way, maybe stripped for a sack, turning the ball over multiple times and not able to get the Eagles offense into convertible fourth down situations to stay on the field and activate their running game, that could be blowout city. If the Eagles can't get pass rush with 4, Matt Verderame has insisted on this. The last 2 times we talked to Matt Verderame on the show, he has said that is the entire ball game. Our NFL insider from Sports Illustrated says, if the Eagles can't get pressure with 4, forget about it. If the Eagles can't get pressure with 4, Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid are going to be able to decipher what the Eagles are throwing at them defensively, and they're going to shred it. They're going to dice it up. And I think a blowout would also include the Chiefs being perfect in the red zone, which the Eagles have not been a good red zone pass defense this season. In fact, they've been one of the worst. They've been really good all other areas of the field. In fact, they've been the best pass defense in the league. But you get them in the red zone, they're a little shaky. And the Chiefs, if they are perfect in the red zone, and I mean perfect scoring touchdowns, not leaving points on the board at all. I mean touchdowns. I mean 3 for 3 on touchdowns or 4 for 4 on touchdowns. That could lend itself to a comfortable Chiefs Super Bowl win. Something like 31-16 with a late Eagles touchdown, and then they go for 2 because that's what the numbers say to do, right? You don't cut it to 14. You try to cut it to 13 now. That's the new thing. That's the new math. So like a 31-10 lead, and then maybe a mid-fourth score from Philadelphia to get it to 15 points there, and that being the final score. That's what I think a Chiefs blowout would look like. A fast start leading to a comfortable victory. What about a close Chiefs win? What would that look like? You don't need me to tell you what that would look like because we see it every week, right? A close Chiefs win. Imagine that. A game that's tight into the fourth quarter, and the Chiefs get a big stop with a timely blitz, and Patrick Mahomes leads a drive where he's flawless, and the Chiefs score points, exactly the number of points they need to hold off the other team and win the game. That's literally every Chiefs game. Let's not kid ourselves. That's been every game this season. That's been every game in the playoffs. That's how the Chiefs roll. That's how they win. So you don't need me to tell you what a Chiefs close win would look like. It would probably look like both teams playing at a pretty high level. Saquon Barkley getting his, Jalen Hurts playing well, taking care of the ball, both teams having some success with the pass rush and getting some critical third down stops. The Eagles able to massage the clock the way they want to with their running game, a low possession affair, and then it's within 3 points with 5 minutes left, and Patrick Mahomes has the football, and everybody watching thinks, all right, time for Jordan to go be Jordan. And Jordan will go be Jordan and win the game. That's what that looks like. That's what the crystal ball is telling me. Now, I don't think a blowout is happening. I don't think either of the comfortable scenarios are happening. I don't think that the Chiefs are going to be mistake prone or just crushed at the line of scrimmage all game. I think they're going to hold their own in the trenches. I don't think the Eagles are going to get mistake prone. They've been really smart about not turning the football over, haven't turned it over in the playoffs so far. And I think their defense is good enough and their offense is good enough not to let the Chiefs get out ahead big enough, early enough to take the ball out of Saquon's hands. So I think we're going to see a close game. Who do I think is going to win? You kind of know which way I'm leaning, but I'll make it official on tomorrow's show. How about that? In the meantime, we'll take our first break here on 580 Sports Talk. We still got so much Chiefs to get to, including our favorite prop bets for Super Bowl 59 from Prairie Band Sportsbook, and a word with the voice of the Chiefs, Mitch Holthus, sponsored by Hy-Vee and Azure Credit Union, coming up in the 5 o'clock hour. We're going to talk some college hoops with CJ Moore. We're going to do the local sports spotlight coming up in about 10 minutes here with Rick Peterson. But first, a quick either-or over-under. That's coming up after our first time out. We're just getting started on this edition of 580 Sports Talk. round of either or over under, which I'm doing by myself, so I kind of have to outsource the either ors and the over unders here on 580 Sports Talk. From the Ringer's article today, theringer.com, the most fun prop bets to make for Super Bowl 59. I'm not sure. I think if I had to guess anyhow, I think the Ringer has a partnership with FanDuel. So these numbers are from that particular sports book. Over under 120 and a half seconds for John Batista's national anthem. Now, the author of the piece did the research here. John Batista's done national anthems at NBA All-Star games, U.S. Open tennis tournament. 120 and a half seconds is 2 minutes. I'm leaning under. There's value on the under, plus 114. I'm leaning under, although he is obviously, if you're familiar with John Batiste, gifted instrumentalist, used to lead the band on The Late Show with Stephen Colbert on CBS. He's won a Grammy. He's won several Grammys. Gifted instrumentalist, so if there's some instrumental flourishes to it, that could very well take it over the top. But no, I think it'll be a get in, get out, and get on with the game kind of performance for John Batiste. I'll go under 120 and a half seconds. Also, from, I believe it's the same sports book, but I'm not 100%. What song will Kendrick Lamar open the halftime show with? I am a huge Kendrick Lamar fan. Brendan has seen Kendrick Lamar in concert, so he and I both very excited for this halftime show. If you're not familiar with his work, just know that at some point, probably the closing song of the performance, he's going to do a song, and however many people fit in the Superdome are all going to yell a line that calls Drake a pedophile, gleefully, with a smile on their face. That's kind of get down Kendrick Lamar's been on for the last calendar year or so. So anyway, he's got a great catalog, lots of great songs that really knock, really bang, really get your shoulders shaking and your head nodding. The song I think he might open with, I think it might be Backseat Freestyle off the Good Kid, Mad City album, released in 2012. I don't know how you get around the censors with the line, the Eiffel Tower line in the very first, reading of the chorus. But I think it would be a great intro to the show. I have no idea how, though, he would self-censor the part that comes after all my life. I want money and power, respect my mind, or die from lead showers. I can't say the next two lines. Not it's graphic. Let's just say that. It's graphic, sexually graphic. But if they can get around it, I think that would be a good song for him to open on. Apparently, you can get that at plus 3,300 as Kendrick Lamar's opening song. I like it. I like it a lot. It's popular. It's well-known. It would really set it off. I hope that's the one he opens with. That's my pick. We'll take a short time out here on 580 Sports Talk. When we come back, the great Rick Peterson will join us for the local sports spotlight. That's next on 580 Sports Talk. We are pleased to be joined, as we are every Thursday at this time, by the great Rick Peterson from TopSports.news. Covers all things Shawnee County High School sports and Washburn University athletics at TopSports.news. And Pistol will jump right in with a big game in the city last night. Renewal of a rivalry that's gone dormant in the regular season, but games we got to see during tournament week. Highland Park taking on Topeka West. Start with the boys game first, the rematch of the TIT title. This one a bit more of a comfortable victory for the Highland Park Scots last night.
Yeah, they, West did get within one in the third quarter, but then Highland Park just kind of took control and then really had pulled it away with a great fourth quarter.
It was interesting, Pistol, when we watched Highland Park at the TIT, it felt like they were playing a bit more of a deliberate, slower brand of basketball. And it's just never what you expect to see from a program that's branded itself over the years as the running Scots, right? You look up and they're winning a game 44-41. You feel like, well, wait a minute. That's not running Scots basketball for sure. That's something a little bit different. So to go out, score 67, win by 17, and read your story at TopSports.news today about the game. It feels like Michael Williams, head coach of the Scots, and his team kind of wanted to prove a point with how they played last night.
I think they definitely did. They felt like they got some, a little bit of disrespect for the way they won that game. And, bottom line, hey, it don't matter how you win, just that you won. And they won that game on the way what it now is a 14-0 start. But, the problem, I don't know if it's a problem, but, when everybody knows you and everybody has seen you playing growing up and seen your team growing up, there's certain things they expect. And like you said, from Highland Park, that's, 10 dunks and 80 points and, stuff like that. So I think Mike made some good points about that. Hey, we wanted to win that game the way we won that game. And last night they wanted to step it up a little bit.
The Highland Park girls lost to Topeka West at the Capital City Classic in the first round of that tournament last week, but they got theirs back with a 50-34 win, even without some key members of their team available. And that's a good step back in the right direction for Rob Brown's crew after they dropped a couple of games they maybe felt like they shouldn't have at the Capital City Classic.
Yeah, and that's exactly what Rob said. The tournament didn't go like they expected or hoped it would, but it was good to get right away get a chance to see Topeka West again. And despite missing some players, they kind of took control early, out 14-1, and they really never looked back. West made a run at them, and then they took control again, kind of like the boys down the stretch.
We're talking to Rick Peterson of TopSports.news. This is our local sports spotlight here on 580 Sports Talk. Do it every Thursday at this time on the program. Pistol, as for Topeka West, they had won 6 in a row going into that TIT title game 2 Saturdays ago, lost the narrow one to Highland Park, then turned around, came out of tournament week, lost again to Shawnee Heights, got swept in that season series, and now have lost to Highland Park a third time. They're now 8-5 on the year. All 5 of their losses, though, are to top 10 teams in Class 5A. They got another one coming to town tomorrow night in our 580 Preps Game of the Week with the Piper Pirates coming into the Charger Dome. What do you think Christian Olsaker's bunch needs to do to regroup for these final handful of games in this regular season?
Well, I think what you just said is what Christian needs to tell his team. It said, hey, yeah, we got these losses, but look who we've lost to. Now, we want to get to the point where we can win those games, but we can't hang our heads. Once they get through this little stretch, they have a bunch of winnable games. So, they're still going to have a good seed. They're still going to have a winning record. And they just got to stay the course, so to speak.
Again, you'll be able to catch those games, the doubleheader tomorrow night from the Charger Dome. Topeka West hosting Piper. That is our 580 Preps Game of the Week. Yours truly and Larry Latimer will be on the broadcast coverage starting approximately 5:30, 15 minutes prior to the tip-off of the girls' game and then the boys' game to follow. That is, again, tomorrow night. Staying with recent action from the Charger Dome, Pistol, in that Capital City Classic last week, Shawnee Heights takes home the tournament crown, knocking off Washburn Rural, having to rally back from a first-half deficit, and they rode the shoulders of KK Emmett with 36 points in the championship game. Looks like Bob Wells' group is starting to roll, and KK Emmett is a sophomore. She keeps getting better and better.
Yeah, and, 36 wasn't expecting. But KK, since she stepped on the court as a freshman, she's been a scoring threat, and she has got more consistent and better. That was a whole another step she took in that game. I mean, she just couldn't be stopped. And I want to say 19 in the third quarter, and that you just don't see that, especially in an 8-minute quarter. So she just took control of her team and led them to the promised land. And like you said, they came back. They were down 16 late in the first half. They were down 14 at the half, and then just kind of turned things around.
Another matchup Friday night I wanted to point to, particularly on the girls' side, Centennial League matchup, Washburn Rural taking on Topeka High. Rural lost that championship game to Shawnee Heights on Saturday, but they bounced back. They handled Blue Valley and Junction City on Tuesday and Wednesday night, which you would have expected them to win both of those games. They beat Topeka High pretty handily back in December, but Ron Slaymaker has those Trojan girls playing good ball and, in fact, into the Class 6A top 10, according to the KBCA. What do the Trojans have to do to make it a closer game the second time around at Washburn Rural tomorrow night?
I think everybody pretty much expects a closer game this time around. Topeka High is coming off a league loss to Manhattan, but it was a close game. So, I mean, I think they're gonna come out thinking they can play with the Junior Blues, even though they will be on the road. And I that's where I'm going. I mean, I expect that to be a great matchup.
Rick Peterson is our guest. He covers high school sports and Washburn University athletics for TopSports.news. Check out that website, an indispensable daily read if you're local and you love local sports. And he joins us for the local sports spotlight here on 580 Sports Talk. Outside of the hardwood for a moment, I know the seasons are heating up and postseason will be here before you know it for wrestling and swimming. We had city swimming last week. What popped to you from those city swimming results?
Oh, I mean, it was closer than it's been, but it was kind of business as usual for Washburn Rural with the Junior Blues winning the 6th straight title. And but there were some other good performances by other teams. Jackson Cowden of Topeka High won his 4th straight city diving title, and it led the Trojans to a second-place team finish. Seaman was right up there. So it was a good competitive city meet.
Looking ahead to this weekend, what's on deck that we should be keeping track of in high school sports? We talked about some of the basketball games, obviously, but what will you have your eye on outside of hoops on the prep slate this weekend?
Well, bright and early tomorrow morning, I'll be at the city bowling tournament, city bowling championships, and that'll be very interesting because you've heard me say this a million times. Topeka's a bowling town, so I think it'll be a good crowd there. There'll be some good performances, and then on Saturday, the league wrestling tournaments are on tap, both in town. I'll be at the United Kansas Conference tournaments at Topeka West, and then we'll also be covering the Centennial League tournaments at Topeka High. So,
who's the favorite in the UKC wrestling meet, Pistol?
Well, I think on the girls' side, definitely Shawnee Heights, and then on the boys' side, I think that's more close. I think Lansing's not bad, and Shawnee Heights is always good. Seaman always has a lot of good wrestlers, and so I think that'll be competitive.
Our guest again is Rick Peterson of TopSports.news, joining us for the local sports spotlight here on 580 Sports Talk. Let's pivot to Washburn Athletics, Pistol, as they are back on the home hardwood at Lee Arena on Saturday, welcoming in Central Missouri. The men looking for, of course, the season series sweep as they remain unbeaten at 21-0. Women looking to turn the tide after losing back in December out in Warrensburg. I want to ask about the women first, because that win over Nebraska Kearney showed just kind of how far this team has come. They almost beat Kearney on the road in December without Bari Widata. They get the win at home last Saturday. What has impressed you the most with how they've improved as this season has gone on?
Well, just that one thing, I mean, the fact that how they've handled some adversity. They were without Yabari Widata for a while, concussion protocol, and they've really fit in some new people, led by junior Peyton Stirk, who's, in my opinion, one of the conference's top players. But when they've had some off nights, like losing badly to Hayes twice, and then losing some other games, they've bounced right back. They haven't had any of these real long skids like they did last year and the year before. And if they can avoid those moving forward, I think they're a force to be reckoned with, even in the postseason. Just they want to be a team that nobody wants to play.
As for the men, 21-0, and people keep asking us, and certainly keep asking our pal Brendan Dworzinski, the voice of the Ichabods, can they do it? Can they run the rack in the MIAA? And the default answer has kind of been, that's really hard. That's a really hard thing to do. This is such a great league. You certainly wouldn't take such a thing like that for granted. But the more they keep winning, and not just winning, but winning big, the more you start to think, well, who's going to get them if anybody's going to do it?
I agree with you that it's very, very, very hard, because at some point you're going to have an off night. Somebody's going to have a night where they just shoot lights out. You're going to get in some unforeseen foul trouble, things like that. But I also agree with you on the other side. The more it goes on and the more they just keep churning out impressive wins, you're thinking, why would they get beat? I mean, who's going to beat them? Because they've just been so impressive.
Rick Peterson covers it all for TopSports.news, Shawnee County High School sports, Washburn University athletics. If you want to stay informed of what's going on sports-wise in the capital city in Shawnee County, TopSports.news should be a daily read. And you've been knowing that if you've been here in Pistol on 580 Sports Talk. He joins us every Thursday for the local sports spotlight. Pistol, always a pleasure. Enjoy the games and events this weekend, and we'll talk to you next week.
I look forward to it.
That is Rick Peterson. We will step aside for one final break this hour. Come back, put a bow on hour number 1 of this Thursday edition of 580 Sports Talk. 3:55 on 580 Sports Talk. Wrapping up the first hour of today's program. Our thanks again to Rick Peterson for joining us. K-State women last night, the Serena Sundell show in the second half, 23 of her 27 points. Game felt like it might get away from K-State, and Serena just said, no, not on my watch. Man, what a player she's become, and what a force that she now has turned into. In the absence of Ayoka Lee, she has become the go-to for that K-State women's team. They beat TCU last night 59-50. Gisela Sanchez, big go-ahead three with about 6 minutes left, let K-State close on a 15-4 run. Great crowd at Bramlage Coliseum last night. And now K-State all alone at the top of the Big 12. They have a one-game lead over, I believe it's Baylor and TCU. K-State's 10-1, TCU's 9-2. Right behind them, Oklahoma State, and that's who K-State has next. Another tough challenge in Stillwater for the Midi Cats on Saturday. You'll hear that game over on our sister station, the Big 94.5 Country. It's going on at the same time as the Sunflower Showdown on the men's side. That game will be right here on 580 WIBW and FM 104.9. And speaking of Saturday's Dylan's Sunflower Showdown, I have a pair of tickets for that game that I'm going to give away at some point during the show. So, just keep an ear to the streets. Be listening for your cue to call. And you might be the lucky winner. Might be sending you to Bramlage for a game that has a lot more spice to it than we would have expected a month ago. That's for sure. K-State wins. They're back to 500 in league play, which when you start 1-6, that's no mean feat. And they would also be back over 500 overall. They would have a better than 500 record on the season if they can find a way to do what they have done the last 2 years and beat the Jayhawks in Manhattan. Coming up in the 4 o'clock hour, we're going to talk some college basketball. CJ Moore of The Athletic, the best college basketball feature writer in America, will join us at the bottom of the hour. We will ask him. He has experienced something and survived something, a horror that is unimaginable. He had to sit next to me on press row at Allen Fieldhouse Monday night for the KU Iowa State game. So if he survived that, he's a tough son of a gun. So but we'll talk to CJ Moore about some college hoops. We got 2 news stories on what is wrong with you. We'll start the hour with our favorite Super Bowl prop bets from Perry Band Sportsbook, plus your text 785-272-9429 and your YouTube comments. That's all to come on hour number 2 of 580 Sports Talk. Let's get it. Hour number 2 of 580 Sports Talk on a Super Week Thursday, 3 days away from Super Bowl 59 between the Kansas City Chiefs and the Philadelphia Eagles. We got 2 more hours to talk sports with you here on the Sports Voice of Kansas today. 580 WIBW, FM 104.9, and online at 580WIBW.com. Also, a welcome to those watching us on our YouTube channel. 580 Sports Talk is where you can stream the video of the show every day, live and archived. You can also watch us on Facebook at WIBW News. Dan Lucero, Spencer Dupuis with you. Brendan Dworzinski is off this week. Lots more to come as we go along on this Thursday. CJ Moore from The Athletic is going to join us at the bottom of this hour for the Big 12 basketball breakdown. We'll get into some hoops with CJ, preview Saturday's Sunflower Showdown between KU and K-State. Can the Wildcats continue to hold serve at Bramlage? I remember last year when they won at home, it had been back-to-back years that they had won at home, and it had been a long time, a very long time, since that had been the case for K-State, winning back-to-back games in any location against the Jayhawks. We'll see if they can make it 3 in a row on Saturday. We'll get CJ's thoughts on that and the rest of the Big 12 race as it passes the midway point. Also joining us in the 5 o'clock hour from New Orleans, Mitch Holthus, voice of the Kansas City Chiefs, for our Super Bowl preview chat. Mitch joins us every week during the season, thanks to our friends at Hy-Vee and Azura Credit Union. Can't wait to talk to Mitch from the Big Easy. See how many beignets he's eaten. We'll see if we can get a number on that. Speaking of Mitch and Hy-Vee, if you have not checked out the Mitch Holthus collection at Hy-Vee, T-shirts with his catchphrases on them. Our Spencer Dupuis was wearing one the other day, in fact, that he picked up at the Topeka Hy-Vee, and you should too. Look sharp in some Mitch Holthus inspired T-shirts, and they'll be the talk of your Super Bowl party, no question about it. So 2 great guests still to come on the program today. We're going to get into some prop bets for the Super Bowl from Prairie Band Sportsbook up at Prairie Band Casino and Resort in Mayetta. They've got, of course, a full board of game props, and Spencer and I are going to take some funny money, some faux show bucks, and nod towards our favorite props. Sort of a nod towards how we think Super Bowl 59 is going to unfold. If people don't remember last year, I haven't forgotten about it because it's going to put my kid through college. No, that's not true. That's an exaggeration. But I did profit nicely off of a McCole Hardman anytime touchdown bet. That might be my favorite play in Super Bowl history, to be completely honest with you. From a financial standpoint, it is 100% my favorite play in Super Bowl history because that meant my Chiefs money line cashed, my Chiefs against the spread cashed. McCole Hardman anytime touchdown was plus 1,800. They thought I was a fool, a madman. I was right, is what I was. I've got another anytime touchdown scorer for the Chiefs that's a bit off the board, and we'll get there in our favorite prop bets for the game. And something else I want to talk about, we'll address it with Mitch too, but as we've talked to people around the teams, we talked to Matt Derrick, we talked to Jesse Newell from the Kansas City Star earlier this week, and of course we'll talk to Matt tomorrow as we do our Friday show, the show before the big game. Typically, you would expect the weight of history to be upon the Kansas City Chiefs. But if it is, they've done a really good job of hiding it. Because everybody around the team has said they don't seem to be burdened by what is at stake from a historical standpoint. Because, of course, this isn't just a Super Bowl, a chance to lift a Lombardi trophy. It's a chance for immortality. It's a chance to do something that is unprecedented in the Super Bowl era. But if that's weighing the Chiefs down, if they're struggling with the burden of history, you would not know it. You would have no idea. And we'll flesh that thought out a little bit. Plus, if we have time, You got a text from the 816 earlier today. Shout out to the 816. And when I say earlier today, I mean before we even went on the air. So shout out to the 816. Hope you're listening to the program. Said, I'd love to hear 5A Sports Talk rank their favorite Super Bowl commercials of all time. So we might get there. If we got some time in the 5 o'clock hour today, we'll talk about our favorite Super Bowl commercials of all time. How's that sound? And if you would like to text the show today, feel free. The number is 785-272-9429. That's 785-272-9429. Also, welcome again to those watching the stream of the show today on our YouTube channel. That is 580 Sports Talk. And if you are watching the stream live, there's a chat feature on the web browser, youtube.com, and in the mobile app. And you can interact with us and interact with your fellow listeners throughout the show in the live chat. Appreciate seeing some more of you join throughout that first hour. Saw Barb in. Love to see that. Ryan is in as well. Appreciate you joining us on today's show and look forward to more of you joining us throughout the program today in the live chat on YouTube. Let's get into some of those prop bets. Okay, these are all from Prairie Band Sportsbook up at Prairie Band Casino and Resort in Mayetta. Be a great place to watch the Super Bowl. No question about that. The sportsbook is set up nice, comfortable chairs with cup holders, all sorts of TVs, though I can't imagine what else would be on Sunday. I guess before the game, you can watch the final round of the Waste Management, get some action down on some PGA Tour golf. I don't know if they're taking Puppy Bowl action. The Puppy Bowl is on Sunday. You guys know I love the Puppy Bowl. I have made no secret of my fondness and my love of the Puppy Bowl. I'll be watching some of that. That's what I watch in the pregame. You can have, Tom Brady interviewing Patrick Mahomes. I guess they're going to interview the Brett Baer, a DePaul University grad. Shout out to my fellow Tiger alum, Brett Baer of Fox. He's going to interview President Trump. All kind of other soft focus stuff. Rob Gronkowski's involved. You can keep all of that. You can have it. I'm going to watch the Puppy Bowl. That's what I'm going to do before the big game. I find, personally, that it takes a bit of the edge off. Maybe if you're more edgy than me for Sunday, then it might help you take the edge off too. Watch puppies frolic on a pretend football field for a couple hours before the game. Anyhow, Prairie Band Sportsbook. Bet your way. Prairie Band Sportsbook. For more information, go to prairieband.com/sportsbook. They have a lot of props on the game. So what Spencer and I have done is we have put together our favorite props for the game, and we each have $100 to put down for entertainment purposes only on our favorite game props. I have chosen 7 props and have divided my money up so I can make 7 plays on prop bets, and these lines are active at Prairie Band Sportsbook in Mayetta. I'm making my biggest bets on first half and second half totals. I think both teams will start fast on offense and that the game will slow down offensively and there will be very few possessions in the second half. Why do I think this? Because this is not the first Chiefs game I've watched. Because this is how every Chiefs game is. Every Chiefs game feels like, a lot of offense early on. Then the second half, it's a bit of a slog. Famously, the Chiefs don't score in the third quarter of games. It's just not really their get down. They've struggled in third quarters for the better part of the season. So the first half total for the Super Bowl, 23.5 points. I'm on the over 23.5 first half points. I'm on the under 24.5 second half points. I think we'll have a higher scoring first half. I think the defenses will settle in, and we'll see a defensive slog in the second half. Not great value on these, I guess, minus 124 odds. So if you want to do the math on that, let me pull up my favorite odds calculator here. But if you bet $20 on a bet of minus 124 odds, you would win $16.13. Plus, you get your stake back. So bet 20 to win $16.13. But I feel very strongly that is the kind of game we're going to see. A high-scoring first half, a low-scoring second half. Over 23.5 first half points, under 24.5 second half points, $20 on each of those. I have two $15 bets. These are both receiving props. I'm on the under for Travis Kelce at 60.5 receiving yards. And the reason that I'm on the under for Travis Kelce, the Eagles were really good against tight ends this season, and they're really good against the middle of the field. And I do not think that the Chiefs are going to be able to get the matchup they'd prefer for Kelce for the better part of the game. I think that much like the AFC Championship game, I think you're going to see the Eagles pay a lot of attention to Travis Kelce. I think you're going to see him doubled quite a bit. I think that's going to open up things for Xavier Worthy. I think he's going to have a pretty big game. I think it could open things up if the Chiefs go a lot of two tight end sets, and I kind of think they're going to for a reason I'll explain in a bit. It'll open things up for Noah Gray. I don't think Travis Kelce's going to have like 2 catches for 7 yards, but I do think his impact in this game might be blunted a bit. So I'm going to go under 60.5 receiving yards. That's minus 112. So a $15 bet on that would win you $13.39. I'm also on the under for Devontae Smith, 49.5 receiving yards. I think that's going to be the Trent McDuffie matchup, and I think he's going to take him away. Also, he's dealing with a hamstring injury. He was limited at practice yesterday. I know Devontae Smith caught a deep ball in the Super Bowl 2 years ago. I think it was a 41-yard pass for a score. I don't see him having that kind of impact in this game. His total, 49.5. I'm going under at minus 113 odds. $15 bet would win you $13.27. Then I have 3 other bets. These are all plus value propositions, so it's a smaller stake, but a chance to win a little more. Along with my thought that this is going to be a game that is a fast offensive start, I will say over 1.5 touchdowns in the first quarter. I think both teams are going to score on the opening drive. Both teams score touchdowns on the opening drive of the game. The odds I'm getting on that are plus 220. My $10 bet would win me $22. I'll also put $10 on 0 turnovers in the game. Both teams have been really good at avoiding turnovers. The Chiefs haven't been a great turnover forcing defense throughout the season. The Eagles have forced 10 turnovers in the playoffs, but a lot of those have just been they're falling on every fumble. Every single fumble. The Eagles are recovering. Spencer just kind of winced a little bit.
Yeah, it's 2 kickoff returns where they've had fumbles just happen.
Right. So
like 2 out of the 10, that's 20% of those turnovers.
So I think their luck runs out a little bit on that end. I could see a game where there is no turnover. So I'll put a $10 bet on a plus 500 proposition. $10 bet wins you 50 if there's no turnover. And lastly, I do have another touchdown scorer bet for you. It's not going to be as profitable as my McCole Hardman anytime touchdown, but I'll put 10 down on a Noah Gray anytime touchdown. That's going to be the matchup I think the Chiefs like. Noah Gray was really good this year, really through the middle of the year, sort of disappeared from the game plan a little bit. This is the time to bring him back. 2 tight end sets are going to put the defense in conflict, and they're going to force Oren Burks to have to cover. And Oren Burks, if you remember from the Super Bowl last year when he had to come in relief of the injured Dre Greenlaw, not real good in coverage. Chiefs picked on him relentlessly in Super Bowl 58. If they do it in Super Bowl 59, it's going to be with one of 2 guys. It's going to be with Xavier Worthy as like an orbit motion or jet motion player to get that matchup on the snap, or it's going to be with a second tight end. So I like Noah Gray in the red zone against a passing defense that struggled in the red zone this year. Noah Gray anytime touchdown, $10 bet will get you $54. That's plus 540 on the odds there. Those are my favorite Super Bowl props. Spencer Dupuis, what do you got? You got 6 plays for us.
Yes, you want me to start with the most money or the least money?
I went most to least, so you do whatever you want.
All right, I'm going to go most to least too, because the first one's kind of a shot in the dark here, right? I mean, He's not a guy that's had too many touchdowns this season. But when we were talking this week with some people that were covering the Chiefs, obviously, I made this point last week about guys that made impacts that were midseason or post St. Joe acquisitions. One of those being DeAndre Hopkins, $20 anytime touchdown on DeAndre Hopkins. I was getting some feedback. So I took one of those little social videos of when I was talking about this, and I posted it on my TikTok, and it got some love. And there are some people thinking a DeAndre Hopkins legacy game could be happening because it's his first time in the Super Bowl, and I think so as well. $20 anytime touchdown plus 480.
$20 bet win you $96.
Yeah, that'd surely be a helpful for me.
Chili's money.
Yeah. That'd be some dinners next week when we're moving into the new place.
There you go. Yeah, moving money.
Yes.
U-Haul money. All right, what's next?
$20 on Patrick Mahomes over 2.5 total passing and rushing touchdowns. So a total between those two gets him. He's going to have 3 touchdowns.
3 touchdowns.
At least, plus 180.
All right. That would pay out $36.
Yep.
$20 bet, pay out $36.
And then I stayed with Mahomes on the next one. I think he's going to have a few more passing yards than we've seen of late, but he's not going to go crazy. So I think he's going to stay. I got $20 on under 239.5 passing yards. I meant to add passing yards there. It's plus 118.
$20 bet would win you $23.60. That's an interesting play if you think that there will be limited possessions in the game.
Yeah.
Like this could be, and most Chiefs games have been this year, like 7-8 possessions. There's just not, like, you could be super efficient and really, really good and still not have a chance to rack up like the big passing yard number. So that's an interesting play because I do think there's a version of this game that does unfold just like that, even perhaps in the Chiefs' benefit, where there just aren't that many offensive possessions.
$15 on a Travis Kelce anytime touchdown plus 130. I like Travis in the playoffs. I think the audience knows that.
Playoff Trav.
Yes.
$15 bet pays $19.50.
Then I've got a $15 on Saquon Barkley anytime touchdown. It's going to happen minus 220, unfortunately, but
not great value there.
No,
Spencer.
But it's going to happen.
not great value. That would be one you'd want to bet more money on. So you could, a $15 bet would pay $6.82.
Yeah.
That's I mean, you get like 2 for $7 at Arby's. I mean, I guess I got that going for you. There you go.
And my last one, putting $10 on Xavier Worthy to have a rushing touchdown and a receiving touchdown plus 1,000.
Kind of love that. I kind of love that.
Plus 1,000.
Worthy to me strikes me as the guy, because the Chiefs love to use motion, right? And motion is going to be how Reed and Mahomes crack the Vic Fangio code, crack the code of this defense, and how they try to ensure that at the snap, they get the matchup they want. So Worthy's usually the motion guy. And if that motion causes him to get a good matchup against a linebacker or a safety, I think Patrick Mahomes will press on that bruise for 60 minutes of football. That's a good one. That's good value on that, too. The idea that he could get a rushing touchdown, take a backwards pass in the backfield, take it around the end, or take a jet sweep handoff, some kind of trickery. We know Reed will have something up his sleeve. They always do, whether it's Rose Bowl right from Super Bowl 54. They've always got something up their sleeve, and maybe it's a rushing touchdown for Worthy. And he's had receiving touchdowns He had one against Houston, didn't he?
I believe so.
I thought he did, and he definitely had one against Buffalo. So I kind of like that one, Spence. That's a good one. That's
plus 1,000 too.
Plus 1,000. So again, these are all lines you can get right now up at Prairie Band Sportsbook in Mayetta. Go check out the sportsbook. Bet your way with Prairie Band Sportsbook. I am on the over 23.5 first half points, under 24.5 second half points, under 16.5 receiving yards for Travis Kelce, under 49.5 receiving yards for Devontae Smith, over 1.5 total touchdowns in the first quarter, no turnover in the game, and Noah Gray anytime touchdown. Spencer likes an anytime TD for DeAndre Hopkins, Travis Kelce, and Saquon Barkley. Likes Patrick Mahomes over 2.5 total passing and rushing touchdowns, under 239.5 passing yards for Mahomes, and a rushing and receiving touchdown for Xavier Worthy. Hey, that happens. That's really good news for the Chiefs. I think Worthy having a big game is one of those things where I don't know what the version of the game looks like where that happens and they don't win.
I also think that's a play to everybody. Like, yeah, we're not just getting washed up receivers on our team.
Yeah, I mean,
we've got a young guy who's going to be here for a while.
They certainly, I think, both in the regular season and in the playoffs, made a point to get him loose against Buffalo. They certainly made that point, as if to say, hey, thank you for the draft pick that we turned into Xavier. Remember mid-season when people are like, well, Xavier Worthy, he can't get his feet down on those long balls. And meanwhile, Keon Coleman having a nice little year for Buffalo, so maybe that trade wasn't so bad for Buffalo. Nah, man.
No.
You'd rather have Worthy than Coleman. I think 31 out of 31 general managers, 30 out of 30 if we remove Buffalo and Kansas City from the equation, I think would take Worthy over Coleman right this second. We're going to take a break here on 580 Sports Talk. We'll keep an eye on how those props come out. We'll see if anybody makes any money. We start with $100. We'll see if any of us comes out with a profit or anything from those prop bets on Monday's show. CJ Moore is going to join us to talk college hoops in a little bit, but first, it's What Is Wrong With You, sponsored by State Farm agent Ryan Mo Winkle, coming up next on 580 Sports Talk. It's a Thursday round of What Is Wrong With You on 580 Sports Talk, and it's sponsored by our buddy State Farm agent Ryan Mo Winkle. He's a big fan of What Is Wrong With You. He enjoys hearing these stories as much as you, and if you'd like to share your story with Ryan, visit his website, ryanmowinkle.com. Give him a call, 785-273-1572. See what Mo Winkle Insurance and Financial Services can do for you. Our current weekly champion story I've called a Wingstop two-piece with ranch and a side of hot grease. The manager at the Wingstop in Florida, somewhere in Florida, it's all Florida, 19-year-old, people were acting the fool at a Wingstop, so she threw some ranch dressing at him. Squirted? Did she squirt it? Was it in the, or did she throw like a cup at him?
I think she threw cups.
It says she threw ranch dressing. So,
Yeah.
And then escalated further with some hot grease, which, I mean, ranch come out, hot grease could do some real damage. And maybe not the step that young manager should have taken. Two new stories today. I'll go first. We are going to Middleton Township in Pennsylvania. where we meet 44-year-old Rose Calise Horn of Levittown, who has pled guilty to felony prohibited use of a radiation source. That's an awesome sounding crime, right? It's not that cool, but still. And misdemeanor impersonating a holder of a professional or occupational license. She will serve 18 to 36 months in prison. Why? Impersonating a dental assistant and performing functions for which she was unlicensed. She claimed to be licensed to perform expanded functions such as installing crowns and bridges, filing down fillings, administering local anesthesia, and assisting with root canal surgeries. During her time at one of the dental practices she worked for, she took x-rays of 5 patients, even though she was not trained or licensed to do so. She lied about her qualifications to 3 different dentists in Bucks County between October 2022 and October 2023. And an investigation conducted by the Office of Attorney General uncovered that she was not licensed by the Pennsylvania State Board of Dentistry. So
I think there's got to be a what is wrong with you, not only for the person, but for those dental practices for not doing too much of a background check.
Yeah, you got to do a little bit more homework before you put somebody who doesn't know really how to do dentistry in your practice to do some dentistry. That's tough. This isn't quite like the bootleg dentists that you hear about. We had bootleg braces one year, I think, win a month. There was a woman doing like braces for $200 on the internet. So it's not quite that, but yeah, this idea, yeah, I can do all this stuff. Who says? I say. It's no problem. Anybody can do it. Well, no, you want people, broadly speaking, beyond just this story. It's good to have experts perform work in which they are experts. In the field in which they are experts. Experts are good, actually. It's not like, you don't want to turn it over to somebody, well, they're outside. She's a real outsider, and that's why I want her to look at my teeth. No, you wouldn't do that. Let the experts be experts. Experts are good. People who know things and study and devote their lives to a certain field, that's good, and that should be encouraged. Anyway. Off the soapbox, that's my story. What do you got today, Spencer?
Well, we're tying Pennsylvania, where a few stories have come from recently, to Florida, the mecca of what is wrong with you stories here with my story. 5 burglaries in Manheim Township in 2021 have led police to connect a Florida man to 22 more burglaries across Pennsylvania counties, more than $140,000 in stolen jewelry and cash. Francisco Cartianga, 48 of Winter Haven, Florida, pled guilty to 55 of the 77 charges against him Tuesday in Lancaster County Court. Prosecutors dropped 22 charges as part of the plea deal. Manheim Township Police connected him to burglaries across Manheim, Lancaster, Mountjoy, West Donegal townships, as well as break-ins in 7 neighboring counties, Dauphin, York, and Bucks.
Wow, 2 Bucks County stories. Go Birds.
In court Tuesday, Assistant Attorney General Caitlin Blazer read off the series of items that he admitted to stealing, including platinum and gold rings, a pearl necklace, watches, silverware, as well as cash. They said he was responsible for stealing cash and items valued at $54,340 from Manheim Township, $86,000 from the 22 other burglaries later connected to him. Basically, he's going to state jail. The investigation began in 2021 when 5 break-ins in one area were reported in one block, the 100 and 200 blocks of Cobblestone Lane and the 300 block of Darlington Court between 8:20 a.m. and noon, according to charging documents.
Yeah, prolific.
Yeah, police arrested him in Delaware County in 2022, finding multiple stolen items in his home that connected him to robberies across the state.
Yeah, you can't keep the merchandise. Yeah. You really can't keep the merchandise. That's
But shocker, he served 5 to 12 years in prison on 22 counts of burglary related to offenses in Berks County with an E in 2008.
Can't leave the game alone.
He was sentenced to 42 months and 20 years in prison in 2012 after he was found guilty but mentally ill on charges of burglary and criminal trespass, again in Berks with an E county.
Once a burglar, always a burglar.
So yeah, he's a serial burglar.
I'm going to go with the fake dental assistant. That's just wild to lie on that and then get caught and then do it 2 more times. And now you're going to jail for 3 years, potentially. But I don't think that beats the Wingstop story.
No.
Wingstop story is going to be a tough out.
Power.
That will continue on as our winner on What Is Wrong With You, which is sponsored by Ryan Mowinkle, State Farm agent, Mowinkle Insurance and Financial Services. Check out his website, ryanmowinkle.com. That's MOHWINKLE, or give him a shout, 785-273-1572. We'll take a timeout. When we come back, CJ Moore joins us from The Athletic for the Big 12 Basketball Breakdown. Joining us on the Fleming Place Wine and Spirits hotline for the Big 12 basketball breakdown here on 580 Sports Talk, CJ Moore from The Athletic. He is the best college basketball feature writer in America. He was my seatmate at Allen Fieldhouse on Monday for the KU Iowa State game. You can find his work at The Athletic. You can find him across social media at CJ Moore Hoops. Monday night, CJ, you and I were in attendance. Big Monday. KU beats Iowa State. Get right performance for the Jayhawks. What was better for them in that game that you think they can build on and hopefully be a little bit more consistent with for their sake moving forward coming out of that performance?
I think a couple things. I think one, defensively, they were pretty dominant in that game. And, part of that was I don't think Iowa State is in the right mental spot and is really missing Milos Momcilovic right now, and the floor spacing and shooting he brings. And so they were, Iowa State is a flawed team, but KU did really, really guard in that game. And I think when KU has been right in the last, month or so, a lot of it has been in games where they really guard at a high level. They're fifth in adjusted defense for the season, but I don't think they've been consistently that good of a team that you would expect to be fifth in the country in defense, right? Like they've had some moments where they didn't guard at that level, different games. So to consistently like really buy into that being your identity. And then the other thing I thought they did pretty well was the movement in the offense was better. The cutting off Dickinson when he has the ball up top, Just the overall flow and approach to offense, I thought was better. I thought the ball moved, and while they didn't score, they only scored 69 points. I thought their process was good, if that makes any sense.
KJ Adams was in the starting lineup to the chagrin of some KU students who were chanting for Flory Badunga 2 minutes into the game. You and I looked at each other like, what are we hearing right now? It was a fairly shocking development, but I thought that Adams's play over the course of that night kind of showed exactly why Bill Self wants to give him more minutes and why he's valuable. So what is it? Because we can focus sometimes on what guys can't do. And KJ Adams is never going to be a scorer, a floor spacer, reliable source of offense. He's just not. But what were the things that he specifically brought on Monday night that sort of underscore his value to the Jayhawks?
Yeah, for one, on defensively, and Self explained this after, he can, and I showed this in what I wrote over at The Athletic, but he's able to switch on anybody, and it made it so when they had ball screens around the 3-point line, he could switch onto their guards, who are their best scorers, and those guys were just going to give it away. Like they did not want to go at him at all. It was pretty clear going back and watching the film. Like anytime KJ got mashed up on them, they're like, no thanks, not going to do this. So he can kind of make you play with one hand behind your back in a way, with his ability to switch on the perimeter. And Flory can maybe switch on the perimeter as well, but he's not quite at that level comfort-wise being out there. And then, so defensively, he's their stopper. And then on the other end, offensively, he's a guy that I think, can play high-low with Hunter. He's really good in the short roll. I think Flory is a superior, probably, finisher at the rim to him. And that's something that, the fans see, and I understand where the fans are coming. Like, Flory is a very effective and has really helped them at different times recently in games. And there's things Flory does better than KJ. There's things KJ does better than Flory. I think they should both play quite a bit. And I understand where fans are coming from, and maybe they want to see more Flory. But I also, I don't think, chanting for Flory 2 minutes into the game where it's clear, it was clear to anybody there that like that was we disagree with Bill Self. We want Flory in the starting lineup, not KJ. And I just didn't think that was the time or place to do that. And in that kind of way, I couldn't, as I wrote in the story, I couldn't remember that ever happening at Allen Fieldhouse, anything like that. And talking to people who I know have been going to games for years that night, they're like, can you guys ever recall anything like that? And then, everybody was like, no, they were pretty surprised.
CJ Moore from The Athletic joining us for the Big 12 basketball breakdown here on 580 Sports Talk. We do it every Thursday at this time on the program. So KU coming into the showdown and Manhattan on Saturday on a winning note, while Kansas State Wildcats keep on winning, survived a wild and woolly game in Tempe with a 1-point win over Arizona State on Tuesday night. They've now won 4 straight, and the analytics back up that this is a dramatically improved Kansas State team from where they were to start Big 12 play. Even if you take it back to just after the Houston game, when they had the loss to Texas Tech at home and then the losses to Kansas and Baylor, they're still a top 15 team in the country in the Torvik numbers at that time. So, yeah, they're playing much better basketball. What do you think will be the difference in this second meeting if Kansas State can pull off a win at Bramlage, which they've done the last 2 seasons against KU? What will they have to do differently other than not fall behind 14-0?
Yeah, it's honestly one of the few Kansas games I haven't watched this year, because I think that was when I was in Kentucky, and I've yet to go back and watch it yet. So I understand I'm speaking here a little bit blindly, but I'm looking at the box score now, and Hunter Dickinson had 25, took 19 shots. Zeke had 24, took 13 shots. I think one thing they did really, really well in that Iowa State game, which is probably the best game they've played all season, right, is that they took away Iowa State's best guys and dared other people to shoot. And I think that they need to find a way to really limit Dickinson's touches inside limit Zeke Mayo and try to make guys like DeJuan, shoot outside, maybe some of the, Shaq Moore, those kind of guys, not Zeke Mayo. So if they're able to limit them, and then, offensively, they just kind of continue to do what they're doing, where just Coleman Hawkins and Doug McDaniel have to play terrific and, get at least a contribution from one or two more other guys. Like, Max Jones was really good the other night. David Gasson was really good the other night. If they can continue to get pretty solid performances out of those guys, I'm sure they're capable of winning that game.
From the team that won that we saw on Monday night to the team that lost that we saw, it's now 3 straight losses for Iowa State. And you mentioned that you don't like maybe the mental headspace that they look like they're in right now. What do you think that stems from for this Iowa State team? Is it just kind of a crisis of confidence that started when Caleb Love hit that 65-footer to send the game in Tucson to overtime last week, or something more at play here with a team that came out of the gate so hot but now has faded a little bit from the top of that Big 12 picture?
I think teams, in the way they're guarding them, have really kind of messed them up. As I said, with like K-State, like they dared everybody that comes off the bench. Nate Heisey, Jamarian Watson, Brandon Chatfield. They dared those guys to try to be scorers and really packed in the paint. And it's made it really hard for Curtis Jones and Keyshawn Gilbert to get good looks. And, Josh Jefferson's kind of been able to continue to do his thing for the most part, but those perimeter guys have struggled to get looks. And because they're struggling to get any kind of freedom, to have a good look at the basket or have driving lanes, it's made them basically force it. And because those other teammates, when they're getting open shots, aren't making them and they're being dared to shoot, it's making it so they're kind of playing hero ball and they end up taking really hard shots. So, they either got to get a couple of those bench guys, a couple of those other types to start making these open looks they're getting so that the other dudes trust them. Or it might just be, biting you just on borrowed time until Milan gets back. And I think he will be back soon, because I think he kind of makes it so, okay, now Nate Heisey doesn't have to play 25 minutes. Now Jamarian Watson maybe doesn't even have to play. It just makes it, everybody kind of gets in line into what their roles should be. And right now it's guys trying to play over, Curtis Jones, Keyshawn Gilbert. While they are the best players, they're just trying to do too much.
We're joined by CJ Moore of The Athletic here on the Fleming Place Wine and Spirits Hotline. And CJ, how does West Virginia's kind of rest of their season look, knowing that they're not going to get Tucker DeVries back? Obviously they kind of hoped he would come back, averaged in the short amount of time about 15 points a game. That's a tough guy to lose going through the rest of the season.
Yeah, honestly, I think they've known probably since December that he wasn't coming back. So I don't know that this really changes things for them much. Like maybe it changes for how we see him from a national perspective. But and I haven't talked to people, but I've just gotten a sense from there's been a sense around the sport that like they've known that he wasn't coming back. So I don't think that it necessarily changes the calculus for them. If they can continue to be around a 500 team in the Big 12, they'll probably sneak into make the NCAA tournament. And honestly, that's a really, really successful year for Darren DeVries in year one, especially when one of his best 2 players has missed, played all but 8 games. So, the good news for them is they think he should be able to get a medical red shirt and be back next year. So that's a pretty good starting point. Get him and Imani Hansberry back next year. Like that's a pretty good place to start building the team.
Couple more questions for CJ Moore of The Athletic, joining us for the Big 12 basketball breakdown here on 580 Sports Talk. 2 teams tied at the top of the league, Houston and Arizona, both 10-1. Texas Tech just a game back at 9-2. They beat Houston last Saturday. This Saturday, they're in Tempe. Late night action, 9:30 Central Time. I guess not late night in Tucson, but a 9:30 Central Time tip as Arizona takes on Texas Tech. What fascinates you most about this matchup between these 2 teams?
They're both really good teams. Arizona has played at a super high level ever since they kind of start giving more minutes to Carter Bryant, who's their freshman, who's like an NBA type talent. And then Henry Visar has really come on strong and started to play really well. So, I think that it'll be interesting to see if Texas Tech can, rebound at a high enough level to win that game. I'm sure the Wildcats, they're one of the better offensive rebounding teams in the country. That could be an area where they really succeed. And then, it'll come a lot down to guard play. I think, when Arizona gets the good Caleb Love, they're pretty dang good when they get the chucking, missing a lot of shots. Caleb Love, they're not great. And right now, Chance McMillan and Elijah Hawkins have turned into some. They've been this for most of the season, but even more so lately. Like, they've been incredible shot makers, especially Chance. Like, he is on one right now. If those guys continue to really shoot the ball at a high level, they'll have a chance. But it's going to be hard to go into Tucson and get a W, especially after they beat Arizona earlier in the year. Arizona's going to want to win that one pretty bad.
Last question for you, CJ. Of the 5 teams who are at the bottom of the league right now, UCF 4-7. Cincinnati.
My apologies. I got that game's at Texas Tech. My brain's not working. So it's going to be hard for Arizona to go in there.
Yeah, no, all good.
I messed that one up.
Last question for you. Of the 5 teams at the bottom of the league right now, UCF at 4-7, Cincinnati, Arizona State, Oklahoma State 3-8, Colorado still winless, 0-11 in Big 12 play. Set Oklahoma State aside because it's year 0 for Steve Lutz. Of UCF, Cincinnati, Arizona State, more concerned about what this year might portend for kind of where they're going to be in the hierarchy of this league.
Well, I think Cincinnati's the program that's kind of got to look in the mirror right now, and I think Cincinnati is going to be fine over the long term. Like, in 5 years from now, I'm sure that'll be a program that's middle of the pack, maybe some years upper tier of the Big 12. But that's the team that has to look back at this season and really have some regret. Just because, I thought they were a top 25 team coming into the year. They returned a lot. This is year 4 for Wes Miller. This was kind of this is the put up year. Like, do something. Like, you've had just okay teams until now. And so Cincinnati's probably got to either figure out, after this year or maybe next year, is that the direction they want to continue? Like, Wes Miller, his seat is getting warm. His seat, Arizona State, that seat might be getting a little warm for Bobby Hurley. Those are the 2 programs that I think could be, better in the pecking order where they are right now, and probably have some soul searching to do. You said Oklahoma State is in a transition period. I think UCF has actually had a pretty solid year and could have a chance to, as far as what UCF is, could have a chance to maybe make the NCAA tournament if it turns it on here. I think 4-7 is kind of disappointing considering what their talent is. And Colorado is also, they lost a ton, and I think we'll be fine. Like, going forward, like, Tad Boyle's a good coach. He had some pros on last year's team they lost, so I didn't expect them to do much this season.
CJ Moore covers college basketball for The Athletic. He's the best college basketball feature writer in America, and he joins us on Thursdays for the Big 12 basketball breakdown. CJ, always a pleasure. We'll do it again next week.
All right, thanks, guys. See you.
That's CJ Moore. We'll take a timeout, come back, wrap up the hour after this on 580 Sports Talk. thanks again to CJ Moore for joining us from The Athletic for the Big 12 basketball breakdown. One more hour, 580 Sports Talk still to come, including our visit with the voice of the Chiefs, Mitch Holthus, and our 580 Sports Talk headlines. But right now, I'm looking for caller number 7 to 785-272-9429. Caller number 7 to 785-272-9429. Why do you want to be caller number 7? Because I have in my hot little hands, not literally, you can see on video it's not literal, but metaphorically speaking, I have 2 tickets to the Sunflower Showdown at Bramlage on Saturday. And I want to hook up caller number 7 to 785-272-9429. Call to win, and I'll send you to the Sunflower Showdown on Saturday. We got one more hour, 580 Sports Talk coming up.
business offers smart business buying solutions so you can spend more time growing your business and less time looking at it. I can see why they call it smart. Learn more at AmazonBusiness.com.
I'm Navy veteran Phil Griggs and a proud member of Navy Federal Credit Union. I was just an E3 when I first joined Navy Federal, and now I'm a middle-aged guy, and Navy Federal is still coming in clutch. With flexible savings, investing options, even high-interest certificates that you can add money to anytime during your term. And one day all those savings are going to equal a new boat. See why Navy Federal Credit Union means it when they say our members are the mission. Savings products are insured by NCUA. Investment products are not insured. Not obligations of Navy Federal or may lose value.
Snakes, zombies, public speaking. The list of fears is endless. But the real danger is in your hand or behind the wheel. Distracted driving is what's really scary and even deadly. Eyes forward, don't drive distracted. Brought to you by NHTSA and the Ad Council.
Your updated forecast on 580 WIBW. Bright sunshine expected this afternoon with daytime highs approaching 47. North winds 5 to 10 miles an hour. Clear skies again. Tonight low level off around 28. Daytime highs approaching 44. Tomorrow cloudy skies expected. Upper 40s Saturday, mid 30s Sunday. I'm meteorologist Ray Miller in the Capital Federal Weather Center. Right now 47.
The Voice of Kansas, online at 580WIBW.com.
Let's get it. Third and final hour of 580 Sports Talk on this Thursday on the Sports Voice of Kansas, 580 WIBW, FM 104.9, online at 580WIBW.com, and on our video stream. We are streaming live on our YouTube channel, 580 Sports Talk, and on our Facebook page, WIBW News. Spencer Dupuis is across the glass. I am Dan Lucero. Just the two of us today. Brendan Wierzinski continues his week off. We are so glad you are spending time with us. However you are consuming the program today, terrestrial radio, online, watching the video, however you're taking it in, thanks for hanging out with us on this Thursday edition of 580 Sports Talk. Text line is open, 785-272-9429. We'd love to hear from you, 785-272-9429. You can also, again, join us on our YouTube channel, 580 Sports Talk, and jump in the live chat. We appreciate all of our listeners who tune in on the YouTube channel, 580 Sports Talk, and who interact on the chat throughout the program. We love hearing from you, interacting with you, and it's cool to see you all interacting with each other, playing nice in the big pool. We appreciate it. Again, YouTube channel is 580 Sports Talk, and if you have not subscribed to the channel, you should go and do that. Because when we get to 800 subscribers, Brendan and I are going to arm wrestle. And that's going to be fun.
And I'm going to commentate it, I guess?
You're going to do the play-by-play.
Yeah.
You've been enlisted to do the play-by-play of that arm wrestling.
I mean, I might be able. Oh, no, that wouldn't work. I said I might be able to pull some strings and get a world champion arm wrestler, but I don't think I could get him to Topeka, Kansas, unfortunately.
Maybe not, but I don't know. Have him do like a cameo, do like a tail of the tape. Just size us up, Brendan and I, and say, all right, who you got?
I could probably do that. I could probably hit him up. I could probably hit up Travis Bajan.
That's funny. We have got in this final hour of 580 Sports Talk today our conversation with Mitch Holthus coming up, voice of the Chiefs. Will join us from the Big Easy, and we will talk to Mitch about the upcoming contest between the Eagles and the Chiefs, Super Bowl 59. The Chiefs go for history and a Super Bowl three-peat on Sunday. Once again, you'll be able to hear that game right here on 580 WIBW and FM 104.9. Pregame coverage from Westwood One beginning at 1 p.m., so about 4.5 hours of pregame coverage leading up to the kickoff. Again, we are contractually obligated by the NFL to bring you the Westwood One broadcast and not the Chiefs Radio Network broadcast. That is a NFL regulation, a stipulation that we must agree to if we are to carry the Chiefs Radio Network in the first place. It is what it is. But the Westwood One broadcast is going to be outstanding with Kevin Harlan and Kurt Warner in the booth. And then following the game, Following the trophy presentation, we will then pick up post-game coverage from the Chiefs radio network, and hopefully that's Dan Israel and Josh Klingler and whoever else reporting from a really happy locker room at the Mercedes-Benz Superdome. So that's what is coming up for you on Sunday here on 580 WIBW and FM 104.9. Pre-game coverage starting at 1, the game from Westwood 1 kicking off around 5:30, and then post-game coverage from the Chiefs radio network.
Can I have a weird entry into fictional What Is Wrong With You? I just saw this pop up and I thought it was really weird / funny.
All right, where are you going with this?
So there's this Philadelphia radio DJ. I don't know if you've seen this video that's kind of going viral right now. He has been calling bars in Kansas City and just trying to rile them up.
Okay.
And he sounds like an idiot when he posted this video.
I have not seen any of that.
He's basically like prank calling all these Kansas City bars and just saying "Go Birds," EAGLES, 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 and like he's gotten some funny responses. But like, dude, why? Like he's gotten a lot of hate responses.
I don't have that kind of time on my hands to create that kind of content. I can tell you that.
No, but this guy at
I got a son to raise. Like I don't have time for this.
102 something in Philly.
Like that used to be a bigger thing, like the morning zoo radio type stuff.
Yeah,
you know, the shock jocks, if you will. I remember. I'll share a quick story of one when I was a kid in the Denver market. They were playing. The Avalanche were playing the Edmonton Oilers in the playoffs, and Edmonton had a player on their team who was Polish, I believe, Central European of some kind.
Yeah,
it may have been Polish. And his last name had like a C and a Z and a K and a J and all kind of order. But to make a long story short, his name was pronounced Jerkovsky.
Okay.
And so the morning guys, Lewis and Floorwax on 103.5 The Fox, prank called him at like 7 a.m. And we're talking about what big Jerkovsky fans they were.
How did they get his phone number?
He was in the hotel. I don't know how they got they knew people that knew people, apparently. They called him at the team hotel. And very, very much confused. I think the Avalanche lost that series. The first round series, they got beat. So, and not a great memory that way. But,
yeah.
No, like, yeah.
I don't know. This guy just sounds like an idiot, though.
I'm glad the medium survives. Let's just say that. I'm glad that there's still a space for shock radio out there.
When I was growing up, this guy on DC radio, he has actually since passed, rest in peace, Kane. But he would do these prank phone calls to random radio stations and then just like act as if he was the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air.
Okay.
So he'd be like, yeah, I just moved here. My parents sent me out here to move in with my auntie and uncle.
Let's get into some headlines, shall we? We got some 5A Sports Talk headlines to bring you, and we're going to start with the Thursday injury report for Super Bowl 59 between the Chiefs and the Eagles. One addition to the Chiefs injury report today, Matt Araiza is dealing with an illness. That'll be a theme. Matt Araiza was ill, apparently, but still able to practice in full today. So he was added to the injury report, but a full participant. Our pal and Chiefs insider Matt Derrick posting to Blue Sky earlier today, just a few minutes ago, in fact, that the anticipation is that there will be no change to Araiza's availability for the Super Bowl. Also participating in full, Patrick Mahomes with his ankle, Juwan Taylor with his knee. Those are the only other players on the injury report outside of Sky Moore, who was limited. Again, his 21-day window from IR has been opened, but all parties seem to believe it's pretty unlikely that he'll be available for the Super Bowl. The Eagles have a longer injury report. They did get some good news on Kenny Gainwell and Jalen Carter today, both of whom were upgraded from limited to full participation today. Gainwell left the NFC Championship game with a concussion, also dealing with a knee injury, but he practiced in full today. Jalen Carter has been dealing with an illness. He also was a full participant today. The limited participants for the Eagles today, Brandon Graham coming off that elbow injury, coming off of IR. His status is up in the air. Devontae Smith still limited with his hamstring injury. Reserve offensive lineman Nick Gates now dealing with a groin injury. He was an addition today to the to the Eagles injury report. He was a limited participant. Everybody else listed practiced in full, including for a second straight day, linebacker Zach Bond, wide receiver Britton Covey, Offensive guard, Landon Dickerson. Tight end, Dallas Goedert. Center, Cam Jurgens. And tight end, CJ Uzama. That's what is listed. However, it has been reported, Pro Football Talk reporting earlier this afternoon, that there is an illness currently ripping through the Eagles locker room.
Someone's got laryngitis.
That might be an exaggeration, but multiple players.
There was literally a report.
No. You said it's not exaggerated. What I said was an exaggeration. Multiple players dealing with an illness this week for the Eagles. Lane Johnson, the starting right tackle for the Eagles, told the Philadelphia Inquirer that he knew of 4 or 5 players who are battling an illness and that something has been going around the team since before they even left for New Orleans. Johnson himself missed media availability yesterday. Quinyon Mitchell, the defensive back for the Eagles, one of their outstanding rookie corners, is the player who reportedly has laryngitis. We also know that Jalen Carter has been on the participation report with illness. No word on any of the other players who are sick. Vic Fangio also telling NBC Sports Philadelphia that an illness is going around through some of the team. Illness going around all over the place. Yeah, my daycare's closed tomorrow. So Asher's all right, but you don't see me tomorrow morning, that's gonna be why. Yeah. I guess I'm breaking news to you. I meant to tell you this off the air, but there's just crap going around and it's everywhere.
Oh, I know. I've been told to be prepared.
Norovirus, bird flu, whatever, laryngitis apparently. But it also affecting potentially some participants in their preparation for the game. The Eagles have indicated that no one is sick enough that right now they would be considered in jeopardy of missing the game. But that is something that the Eagles are dealing with as they prepare for Super Bowl 59. That's our first headline today. Spencer, what you got?
Yes, this coming out earlier today as Kansas athletic department has confirmed, but Jalen Daniels, quote, underwent a minor knee procedure. It was successful, and he will be a limited participant during spring practice, according to that's being reported by Michael Swain, who got the information per the Kansas athletic department. So another offseason and another spring practice where Jalen Daniels will be limited in his participation.
I'm not super concerned about a veteran player who knows the offense missing spring practice. If anything, that's good for a guy like Isaiah Marshall, the redshirt freshman quarterback, who will get some more reps in the spring. I think that can benefit him, benefit some of the younger guys at the position. But it is unfortunate that the reason for it is injury. And that is a concern for Jalen Daniels as far as his availability for 2025. Like, I'm not worried about him missing the spring. What I'm worried about is the cascading effects of all of these injuries that he has dealt with in his career. And what version of Jalen Daniels are we going to get in 2025? Because if KU gets the best of Jalen Daniels, if they get a great year from him, they'll be in bowl contention and they could be in the mix in the Big 12. I mean, you never know how these things are going to shake out. I think it's the only thing predictable about the new Big 12 after 1 year of it is that it is unpredictable.
Yeah.
So could KU be a surprise the best of Jalen Daniels? Absolutely. But how likely is that, given that still it's an injury to add to the litany of injuries that have unfortunately plagued JD6 throughout his career? So sad to hear it from that perspective. But as far as is him missing spring practice going to impact him? No, I don't think that hurts like KU's preparations for 2025. If anything, it might help him. It might help him to get Isaiah Marshall those
I guess my only take is, like, because he didn't have the spring practice, he might have some rust.
Yeah, I guess you could be concerned about that. It certainly felt like early last season, but that was also coming off a year where he didn't have any game action or hardly any game action. Yeah. So no, I think it's a fair point, but I would be less concerned about it for this coming year than I would have been for last year. Next headline for me: Rob Manfred, commissioner of Major League Baseball, after the owners have met here in early February, getting ready for the start of 2025. You want to be fired up for the 2025 baseball season? It's going to be a lockout 2027, guys. We're speeding towards that. The collective bargaining agreement expires in December 2026, and it seems like the owners are now more committed than ever to a salary cap. Manfred says he's getting emails from fans concerned over the sport's lack of a salary cap following the Dodgers' offseason spending spree. Manfred telling the media, quote, "This is an issue we need to be vigilant on. We need to pay attention to it and need to determine whether there are things that can be done to allay those kinds of concerns and make sure we have a competitive and healthy game going forward." It is the position of this particular radio host that the Dodgers are not the problem. It's all of the cheap owners that are the problem. And there are so many owners who are happy to take a profit running their baseball team. And it has never been easier to profit as an owner of a baseball team because revenue sharing is what it is. And TV contracts have been what they have been over the course of years. You can sit on your hands, twiddle your thumbs, do nothing, and make a very nice profit owning a baseball team. But after a while, you don't win. People start to complain. And the owners don't like when people complain about the product not being worth a damn. Owners like Bob Nutting in Pittsburgh or the Monforts in Colorado, who are very influential and have Rob Manfred's ear. Even owners like the owners of the Red Sox, the owners of the Yankees, the owners of the Cubs, teams that should be financial titans that cry poor in situations like this. Say, well, the Dodgers, they're just spending so much. We can't compete. We can't keep up. It doesn't make sense for us to keep up. Do you want to build a winning team or not? It costs money to pay good players. And to pay good players is how you have a winning team. Do you want a good team or not? And if you don't want to pay the money to put a good product on the field and you don't like being criticized for that, sell your baseball team to somebody who will spend the money. That's why, I give John Sherman a ton of credit, what he's done in Kansas City. And they're not going to spend like the Dodgers. And yes, it is correct to say, proponents of the salary cap will say, well, it's just not realistic for teams in smaller markets to spend like teams in bigger markets. And that is true. That is an argument that is correct. And the argument that in sports with salary caps like the NFL and the NHL and the NBA, teams in smaller markets are on a similar footing than teams with the bigger markets. That's a true argument, but it's also an argument that hasn't held water against one of the strongest, maybe the strongest labor union in America, the Major League Baseball Players Association.
Yeah.
Players fought this in 1994. They were willing to go to the wall on not having a salary cap in 1994. It cost them and us the World Series that year. They have been adamant for years and years and years. We are not going to be a salary cap league. And I don't think you need to be, frankly, a salary cap league. Larry Dolan is worth $4.8 billion. He owns the Cleveland Guardians. If you want to say, well, he can't attract free agents to Cleveland the same way you can attract them to go to Los Angeles, yeah, that's true. But also, you write enough checks, you can build a competitive baseball team instead of going backwards and trading your guys, trading Josh Naylor, trailing Andres Jimenez this offseason, and reducing your payroll the year after you go to the American League Championship Series. That's entirely nonsense. So I do not believe. I think salary caps are inherently anti-labor, first and foremost. And my stances are generally pro-labor stances, just in general. And I think that Major League Baseball survived for a very long time and survived just fine. And there's been plenty of fan interest in baseball without the sport having a salary cap. The people that want the salary cap, pay attention to the owners that are saying that you need a salary cap. Pay attention to who the owners are, and then pay attention to how they run their baseball teams. The salary cap is an excuse. They are using that as cover for the fact that they're not willing. It's not just not being able. They're not willing to spend the money it takes to put a competitive product on the field year in and year out. They're hoping to do what the Orioles have done right now, where the Orioles have drafted so well and developed so well. They got a bunch of guys making like $15 an hour plus tips, like Gunnar Henderson and Adley Rutschman and Jackson Holiday, and they've got more on the way. But, oh, hey, do you want to supplement that with some like star players? You want to maybe pay Corbin Burns? He was really great for you last year. Oh, no, thank you. We won't be doing that. Oh, do you want to keep Anthony Santander, your 40 home run cleanup hitter?
Nope.
No. We'd rather play a worse player less money. Pay attention to who is saying this. It is not an argument for a fair playing field. It is an argument for owners to spend less of their money so that they put a less competitive product on the field and still make a profit. Nobody gives a damn, and least of all, you, the fan, should not give a damn what the profit margins of your favorite baseball team look like. They don't print those in the newspaper. They print them in Forbes. Maybe they print them in the Wall Street Journal. But if you're a sports fan, that's not what you're reading. You know what they print every day? The standings. They print whether you win or lost, or won or lost, win or lose. That's what they print. That's how you're measured as a businessman. Nobody gives a damn about the profit margins of the Baltimore Orioles. Go win a division. Go win a World Series. They haven't won a World Series since 1983. Go win a World Series. You cheap bums. They deserve everything bad that happens to them. They're such a disgrace. They should have paid Burns. They should have paid Santander. They should have said, well, we've got all these young guys who are cheap right now. We're going to load up, and we're going to be a force. We're going to dominate the American League. We're going to dominate the East. We're going to run roughshod over the Yankees. We're going to win 100 games. They're not doing that, and it's a disgrace. It's a disgrace.
Yeah. Can I give you one more quick baseball-related headline?
Sure, give it to me.
This just breaking here in the last hour, 30, 45 minutes. It's Ippei.
Ippei Mizuhara.
Mizuhara has been sentenced nearly 5 years in prison for stealing about $17 million from Dodger star Shohei Ohtani. U.S. District Judge John W. Holcomb gave Ohtani's former interpreter a 57-month sentence and 3 years of supervised release and ordered him to pay nearly $17 million in restitution to Ohtani and $1.1 million to the IRS.
How about that?
Yeah.
Well, yeah. Play a dumb game, win a dumb prize, right?
Yeah.
Yep. 57 months in jail for Shohei's interpreter. The way they read that story in the CBS News at the top of the hour, I thought they were about to say Shohei was going to prison. Have sentenced Shohei Ohtani. I was like, yes, Shohei Ohtani is going to prison. Down go the Dodgers. I don't have to watch him kill my favorite team 13 times a year. That'll do it for our headlines. Mitch Holthus joins us next on 580 Sports Talk. .528 on 580 Sports Talk on a Thursday afternoon. We are joined from New Orleans by the voice of the Kansas City Chiefs, Mitch Holthus. His appearances on 580 Sports Talk are brought to us by Hy-Vee and by Azura Credit Union, where you can contact Crystal Rippey, Kirsten McCall, or Kristen Ambergy about the credit union advantage of getting your first or next home loan. Mitch, how has the Big Easy been treating you and the Chiefs traveling party so far?
Oh boy, crazy, and the throttle stuck wide open. I figured up. I have done, 32 shows.
Wow.
Yeah. From NFL Network to San Francisco to DC, and seemingly every place in between. And so it's been wide open, a lot going on. And a couple trips to Media Row, which will make your head mushy. But here we are on the cusp of doing something that's never been done before. And the city obviously is always buzzing, but it's really buzzing over this Chiefs chance to do what has never been done.
It's your 5th Super Bowl now as the voice of the Chiefs. Where does New Orleans rank as far as Super Bowl cities, how they've handled everything, how you've enjoyed your time there?
Well, it would have to be in categories. For amenities, it would not be up there. Tampa Bay is going to be last in all these categories. It was COVID, and
right.
So that's a 5, 5, 5, 5. New Orleans, the food is incredible. The food's amazing. I love Cajun food, and it doesn't matter what you get or where you get it. It's all good. And so I'm a jambalaya gumbo fan, red beans and rice, all of that. And it's just been shrimp etouffee, all that. It's been fantastic. Now, the amenities are not what Scottsdale / Vegas / Miami were like, but it is a positive on proximity, meaning things are just not spread out. That's one of the things that they like about this place is the fact that things are so close. Now, I have to walk to Media Row. It's about a 1.5 mile walk, but that's okay. But you don't drive anywhere. Now, security, as you might guess, has been the most I've ever seen at any venue other than being in Mexico City when we played there, when we had a Humvee in front of us and behind us with 50 caliber machine guns. We did have an armored car. That was interesting. And the sad part of where we're at, and some K-Staters will be listening, we're right across from the Sheraton where they were at for the Sugar Bowl. But we are literally a block and a half away from where the tragedy happened during the Sugar Bowl or before the Sugar Bowl. And so we're a block and a half from Canal and the Bourbon intersection where that happened, Bourbon Street.
We're talking with Mitch Holthus, voice of the Chiefs, presented by Hy-Vee and Azure Credit Union here on 580 Sports Talk. Let's get into this game. But first, is the Chiefs' approach this Super Bowl. There's obviously a lot at stake historically, more at stake maybe than any team has had to carry with them going into a Super Bowl week. But everybody we've talked to so far around the team says if that's bothering them, weighing them down, you certainly wouldn't know it. What has the vibe been around the team this week? Is it similar to the previous Super Bowls that they're able to compartmentalize and treat it as just another game, even though this one in particular really isn't historically?
I think for the bulk of this team, the experience of being in this game has helped, meaning the barrage of media every day, the Monday night event, which is getting more bizarre by the year, and the onslaught of distractions. So that helps. But I think this year's team, ever since minutes after Super Bowl 58, has been on this mission, and now they're right here at the front step of getting it done. But the other part of this team, this 24 team, that I find very intriguing, and this has been as the season has gone on, are the additions of a Kareem Hunt. For sure, Samaj P. Ryan, who I said I poured water on my head, which I did, because he was such a huge pickup for the Chiefs. But to get a Kareem Hunt who missed everything up to this point, he had to look from afar in Cleveland of like, I screwed this up. I'll never get to this chance. And he's got this chance. The other is DeAndre Hopkins. If you followed him on social media, you have seen how reflective he has been. Very powerful social media posts about what this game and this moment means to him. And I'm pretty sure he talked to the team yesterday. Now, that brings a whole new element to this game and this team that was not there in Super Bowls 58, 57, 54, 55. Because you have veterans who've played in this league for a long time that are finally getting a chance. And that dynamic has permeated throughout the entire team. So it's almost like do it for D-Hop, do it for Kareem, do it for Hollywood Brown, do it for Samaj P. Ryan, who got to this game but lost. Most of this team has won Super Bowls, but let's do it for those guys. And the respect that the rest of the team has for those guys has really given an edge to this Chiefs team. And it's not been talked about, but I think it's very much a dynamic that could help the Chiefs win.
What side of the ball for either the Chiefs or the Eagles do you find to be the most compelling and maybe the most impactful as far as the level of impact you think it will have on the Super Bowl 59 matchup?
Well, the Eagles of 24 have kind of disproven a postulate of football in the college level and the pro level, is that you must pass to win. You got to run, yep, but you really have to throw to win. Not the Eagles, because I'm going to give you a couple of nuggets here, and one that has not been talked about a lot that might be the nugget of the night. But the fact that Philadelphia has emphasized the run, but actually picked up so many chunk runs from Saquon Barkley that it has supplanted having chunks in the passing game. Supplanted, I should say. Yeah, had absolutely done that. So the fact that Saquon Barkley has already set an NFL record of 7 runs of 60 yards or more for touchdowns. Never happened in the history of the league. But this is what it's led to. This is the bizarre stat of the night. The Eagles are 29th in the NFL in passing. Do you realize they're only the second team to reach the Super Bowl ever that was in the bottom 5 in passing? And it was the 82 Dolphins, and that was a strike season. That was a shortened year. So Philadelphia, your question to me is very clear, that they are getting such big plays in the run game that throwing has truly become just a compliment for them. And so they have debunked the postulate that you've got to throw to win.
We're joined by Mitch Holthus here, a voice of the Chiefs. And Mitch, talking about Saquon Barkley, I think, one of the few sound bites from the team that seems to, or I guess that's been on social media, that seems to be like more serious this week, is from Justin Reed. And he says, we know we're not going to be able to stop Saquon, but to be able to kind of pin him down to lower amount of yards. How do they do that this weekend?
Well, I'm going to give you another nugget that might help answer that. The Chiefs have been the NFL's best tackling team now for 4 years. Do you realize the Chiefs have only allowed 3 50-plus runs in 4 seasons? It's by far the best in the league. And in 6 seasons under Spags, only 6 50-plus runs in 6 years. So they're kind of built to at least slow down Barkley, meaning they're tacklers. They don't necessarily put extra guys in the box to stop the run. They trust their tackling to get population of the ball. That's what Spags was talking about today when I had a chance to talk to him. Population of the ball, hats for the guy, or you hear all that, those cliches. You don't necessarily align that way. You want another nugget about Saquon Barkley that I found interesting when I did a deep dive into him?
Let's hear it.
Those 7 60-plus runs, 4 came against the Rams, 2 in the regular season and 2 in the postseason. Another 2 of the 7 came against the Commanders, 1 in the postseason, 1 in the regular season. He had 1 against interestingly, the New Orleans Saints, and he had some 50s in there, but 60 was the demarcation line of the record. But against 3 teams, so does that mean scheme, personnel, approach? It might be. It wasn't like he was peeling them off every week against every team. So scheme, the way this Chiefs team is structured, how they drafted, the corners tackle. They don't shy away from tackling. The safeties, you could argue, are better against the run than against the pass, including Justin Reed. They're not box safeties. They don't load the box. They might blitz. They'll run blitz. But they don't line up with 7 or 8 in the box and go, hey, we're going to stop you. They don't do it. So, and that's what hurt the Rams. If you go back and look at these long plays, they put 8 in the box, and once Saquon broke the first wall, there's not enough dudes. So I think the Chiefs structurally, not just scheme-wise, but the way that they put their lineup together is built to mitigate Saquon Barkley. That means hold him to singles and doubles. You're not going to shut him down. That's Justin Reed's point. Just don't let him hit home runs.
Couple more questions from Mitch Holthus, voice of the Kansas City Chiefs, joining us, a courtesy of Hy-Vee and Azura Credit Union here on 580 Sports Talk. A lot of the diagnosis of this matchup, a lot of the analysis throughout the week has come down to people saying, man, yeah, this Philadelphia defense is great. They've got a lot of guys, but the other team has Patrick Mahomes. Well, what a gift it is for the Chiefs to have the Jimmy and Joe in this game, wearing number 15 and under center. And the consensus belief is that when the going gets tough, Mahomes figures out a way to make something happen. What will allow Patrick and this Chiefs offense to get to the point? In what ways will Andy Reid and Mahomes and the other principals on the field be able to set themselves up in position to make things happen against a defense that is, by some metrics, the best in the league?
Well, you just opened up the second page of this game. The first page is what we just talked about with Saquon Barkley, explosive runs, and what we just mentioned. Now, the second page is what you're leading to here, and that is basically you're going against Vic Fangio again. Keep in mind that Matt Nagy's defensive coordinator, his first 2 years in Chicago, was Vic Fangio. So they work together, they game plan together, they kind of get into each other's heads a little bit. And then Vic goes and becomes the head coach of the Broncos, which he's gone up against Andy Reid a lot of times. We know that. Vic Fangio's overall defense, this is simplistic, but this is his template, is to make you, he's not going to give you the big play. There's no jet chip wasp here. But he's going to make you 2nd and 5, or are you going to stay patient? Are you going to stay patient and disciplined in your approach? And we might punch the ball out. Because these guys, other than Buffalo, are the most punching out team in the NFL. They're plus 10 in the giveaway takeaway, including 2 in the playoffs. They were plus 11 in the regular season. They make you stay. They make you earn every yard. You're going to stay patient. Oh, you got 4. You're going to be more patient. Get 4 more. You get 4 more, and then we might punch it out and flip it. But I'm going to answer your question here. Patrick Mahomes is so much more built to play that game now than he was when he played the Eagles in Super Bowl 57. These two teams have changed a lot more than people realize in just 2 years. And the fact that Patrick Mahomes now has D-Hop, he has all 3 runners as running back who can catch checkdowns and break tackles, and a 4-yard pass becomes a 14-yard gain. Xavier Worthy's not just a 4.21 40 guy. He runs routes. Noah Gray's a whole lot better than 2 years ago. Juju Smith-Schuster can come alive at any second. And we know what Hollywood Brown can mean. All of that together makes you better suited to play a Vic Fangio defensive scheme that's very good with personnel. They've drafted great on the defensive side. I loved Quinyon Marshall coming out of the draft this year from Toledo. Cooper DeJean is Ida Grove, Iowa, right? Not far from Omaha, so he's in the kingdom. And the fact that they've got the Georgia Bulldog All-Stars. But the scheme is such where they'll do exactly what I just told you. But the Chiefs are way better at play that scheme now than they were at any time in Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes being together. It's Mahomes being a fastball pitcher that learned to throw a cutter to get everybody out. And that's why I'm excited about Mahomes, to answer your question, against this defense.
Last one for you, Mitch. We talked about page 1 and page 2, as you put it, the question of Saquon Barkley and how Mahomes will handle the Eagles defense. But we know that you love to find the stuff that might get buried in agate type on page 16. So what's something that nobody's talking about that might define this game or might play an outsized role in it?
Well, I've given you a few, and that was coming in to dig in. But there's 2 things, and I mentioned this, that the maturity of this Chiefs team is emotionally mature. They play steady line. They're not up or down. They're just right there. But I think, too, another piece of this game in not only having that, and that gets you led into the spot of being able to win close games, is the fact that you've got Mahomes coming in doing something he's never done before, and that is 288 pass attempts without an interception. That's the best in NFL history for a quarterback entering the Super Bowl. And that, to me, is, I guess, goes back to a little bit of page 2. And so, and I just think, and the other one is the special teams. Now, I think the Chiefs could dominate the special teams. Jake Elliott, the kicker for the Eagles, is 1 of 7 on 50-yard field goals, and he's 0 for 1 in the playoffs. So he's 1 for 8 this year. Their field goal game is 49 and in, and he's got to make a 49-yarder. For the Chiefs, everything's in play now. Nico Remigio, 63-yard kickoff return, 41-yard punt return, covering kicks, blocking kicks. They feel like they maybe can block a punt or a kick in this game. And then you've got Buckner. He's, is his knee fine? I don't know, but he's got the longest field goal in Super Bowl history. And these are the kind of times he steps up. I think the Chiefs have a more comprehensive team here in all 3 phases, although the Philadelphia Eagles are very talented. I'm going to give you another one. I know I've been long-winded tonight, but you asked. I really think another thing that's not been over or looked at, and I might have touched on this last week, I think the Chiefs were playing the Buffalo Eagles. And I think they won the AFC Championship against the Philadelphia Bills. The fact that they've faced the 2 most similar teams, in my opinion, maybe the Ravens, those 3 teams are by themselves in their 2024 approach. And it's in recent memory that the Chiefs will play that scheme. And I think it'll help them on Sunday night.
Mitch Holthus is the voice of the Kansas City Chiefs. He joins us Thursdays on 580 Sports Talk, thanks to our friends at Hy-Vee and Azura Credit Union. And on Sunday, Mitch, you'll call your 5th Super Bowl in 6 years. What an unbelievable statement that is.
After 21 years without a playoff win, I don't take it for granted. And from a kid on a farm 10 miles northwest of Smith Center who would, had a make-believe stadium in his farm, yeah, this is something. And don't think I haven't thought about it almost every thought of every day. My emotions go up and down. So yeah, ready for it and ready to make history.
Enjoy the rest of the week and enjoy the call on Sunday, Mitch. Thanks so much for your time.
Thank you, guys. Thanks.
That is Mitch Holthus. We will step aside for a timeout, come back, and bring it on home on 580 Sports Talk. .548 on 580 Sports Talk. Dan and Spencer hanging out with you. Our thanks again to Mitch Holthus. We were his 33rd radio hit of the week.
I heard one yesterday. One of the stations I listen to back home in DC, 106.7 The Fan.
No kidding. He was on DC radio. How about that?
Yeah, the guy I listened to, Grant Paulson's like a play-by-play nerd, so he was obsessing over all of the calls that Mitch makes, including the Deal With Us one.
Nice. I might have to track down that interview. Mitch is the best. Mitch is the absolute best. We thank him for his time as always on 580 Sports Talk. I loved what he said. Talking about like the history at stake for the Chiefs. Everybody knows they're going for the three-peat. They've not been shy about talking about that throughout the season. It's not something they've shied away from. But really interesting that for a lot of guys, they're not looking at it as it's an opportunity to get my third. They're looking at a guy like Kareem Hunt, DeAndre Hopkins, and saying it's a chance to get that guy his first.
Yeah.
And I think that is why this team, one of the reasons why this team has been as successful as it has been, because it's never just been about one guy. It's always been about the collective. It's always been that ability to look outside yourself and be of a piece outside yourself and be concerned with the greater good. Be concerned with your brother next to you. And that's what great teams are made of. And that's again, part of why these Chiefs are where they are. I said we'd get to this before the end of the show. A texter from the 816 asked us, and we have some anticipatory answers in the YouTube live chat. What's your favorite Super Bowl commercial of all time, Spence?
Oh, that's a good one.
A couple answers from the YouTube. Jeffrey says the guy in a mountain did the headbutt thing with a ram for Mountain Dew. I think I remember that one. Mark B says the Clydesdale football game.
That's a good one.
Yeah.
I always love those Clydesdale commercials.
Yeah, always well done.
I don't have like favorite commercials because I feel like I have favorite brands because I feel like they outdo themselves.
Sure.
Almost every year.
Mm-hmm.
Coca-Cola, Budweiser, when it comes to the Clydesdales,
sure,
and the Doritos ones. But my favorite one is when they would use those what are those things called? The snow globes.
Yeah,
and they throw the snow globe at the vending machine to get the Doritos. That was my favorite one as a kid.
I remember that one. Mark H says Budweiser Frogs. That's an iconic one as well. My favorite Super Bowl commercial of all time is Terry Tate, office linebacker. That's the best one. Do you remember that one? I think it was for Reebok. The idea was that there was just a regular, white collar kind of office type job, and they needed an enforcer, so they hired a linebacker, and he would just tackle people that forgot to refill the coffee maker, or you need to put a TPS report with the cover sheet, Doug. And Terry Tate would just like hit him like prime Ray Lewis in the middle of an office, like throw them into cubicle walls. That is the one that has still stuck with me, that the Terry Tate office linebacker is my favorite Super Bowl commercial of all time.
I'm trying to think of some other ones I just Googled.
Here's one from the 785, the Tabasco commercial where the guy eats it on the pizza and the mosquito bites him and flies off and explodes. That was a good one. Tabasco doesn't typically do the Super Bowl commercial, so that one, that one stood out. I remember.
Oh, the Snickers Betty White commercial.
Oh, sure. Betty White,
yes.
I remember the Bud Bowl when I was a kid. Bud Bowl was cool. They used to have the bottles of Bud play each other in a little football game.
Yeah.
I enjoyed that. $8 million a spot for the Super Bowl this year.
Crazy.
I will be I'll be fascinated. I think when it's a team you have interest in playing, you might not remember them as well after the fact.
Yeah, I mean, that's so ever since I've been like in the sports journalism realm, like in college and stuff, and where I'm talking about it the next day, I've been so in tune to the game that like the commercials are really when I'll slip away if I'm going to get food or whatnot, because I want to watch the game. I'm a sports guy. I try you know what I'm saying? Yeah,
no, I get it.
Like I remember more of these commercials from my childhood than I do in the last 8 years.
Yeah, I think Terry Tate was when I was in high school. So like that's the one that stuck with me, and that was all the way back, I think, in my high school years. But anyhow, thanks for the question, texter from the 816. We'll take one final break, come back, and we'll wrap up the show with a final word today on 580 Sports Talk. Final word time on 580 Sports Talk. Spencer Dupuy, hit us.
It's just crazy. We're living in the times where the Chiefs are about to potentially make history here, and then nobody's ever done it before. A few teams have sniffed, but it just seems like it's inevitable at this point, right? Like it seems like it's going to happen, and then they want to go for a 4-peat, a 5-peat, a 6-peat. It just seems like it wants to keep going and keep making history.
Hard to bet against Patrick Mahomes, that's for sure. Final word for me today over on our sister station, the Big 94.5 Country. It has been our St. Jude Radiothon Day for the St. Jude Hospital and Cancer Research. Country 106.9 has also participated in the Country Cares Radiothon today. And we wanted to give you one more chance to become a partner in hope. The phone number to call, 800-592-3530. 800-592-3530. Make a donation, become a partner in hope, get one of these cool t-shirts that I'm wearing right now. You can see it on the live stream on our YouTube, 580 Sports Talk. You can get one of these t-shirts if you become a partner in hope. Again, that number one more time, 800-592-3530. Also wanted to close the show today. A sad note, unfortunately. We wanted to send our thoughts and prayers to the family and friends of Adam Mazzano, who passed away today in New Orleans. Topeka resident and a reporter for Telemundo in Kansas City, who was in New Orleans to cover the Super Bowl for the third straight year, tragically passed away yesterday. And wanted to, again, send along condolences. Terrible, terrible news to hear. Just 27 years old, Adam Manzano. Rest in peace to him, and hopefully, again, thoughts and prayers to his family and friends and everyone who knew him. Tomorrow, Chiefs, Eagles, Super Bowl preview, predictions, keys to the game. Matt Derrick joins us from New Orleans. All that fun stuff coming up tomorrow. Until then, for Spencer, I'm Dan. This was 580 Sports Talk. Good night.